Take a Stephen King small town nightmare, put a Parks and Rec writer behind it, and you get Widow's Bay, a folk horror show that's as funny as it is frightening. Welcome to Scary World, where I walk you through the best, the worst, and the downright disturbing. I'm Arturo Padilla.
Hi.
Let's get into it. A skeptical mayor tries to keep his cool while the superstitious residents of a cursed New England town brace for what's coming.
There is something about these seafaring towns. The superstitions, their tall tales. I find it charming myself.
The first category is production. Does it look good? Is it well executed? Widow's Bay is a great looking show. The New England setting does a lot of the heavy lifting. The weathered coastal town atmosphere is folk horror's natural habitat, and the show leans all the way in. Hiro Murai and the rotating directors bring a real craft behind the camera. Every episode is sharply shot with camera work that doesn't just frame the horror, but heightens it. The sound design actively builds dread, working as a horror tool in its own right, rather than just filling space. For production, Widow's Bay gets a 2 out of 2. This show looked fantastic. I loved every single aspect of every episode in terms of the visuals, in terms of the sound design, in terms of what we got as an overall package. It is well executed and very impressive. The next category is story. Is it engaging? Does it all make sense? This is what sets the show apart, a horror comedy blend that actually works. Created and co-written by Parks and Rec's Dippold, the comedy is woven into the show's DNA from the ground up. It never feels forced, and most importantly, it earns its place. Every episode pulls its weight too. Each one adds to the lore rather than coasting as a filler. When the folk horror settles into its slow burn, the humor is the engine that keeps things moving along. For story, Widow's Bay gets a 2 out of 2. I really enjoyed the story that we get throughout all 8 episodes of this show. It is really well written. The comedy is on point and it's actually funny. That is the major difference here. There are times where comedy is injected into horror and it doesn't work. But here in Widow's Bay, it is the backbone of the show. The next category is ensemble. Does the cast have chemistry? Are the performances good? The show is perfectly cast from top to bottom. Matthew Rhys and Cato Flynn anchor the whole thing. They ground the supernatural so it lands and nail the comedic timing right alongside it. Dale Dickey from Chuck also adds a layer of comedy to every scene she's in just by showing up. There are no weak links here. Everybody understands their role and executes it perfectly. For ensemble, Widow's Bay gets another 2 out of 2. I really enjoyed all the characters in this show. They are really one of a kind, and they add to every single sequence they are in. No two characters are the same, and every time one of them shows up on screen, they shine. Next up is horror. Is it scary? Does it deliver the goods? The series showcases some excellent folk horror with supernatural elements sprinkled throughout. Episode 2 in particular is where the show plants its horror flag. It sets the tone and pushes it into genuinely scary territory. The catch is that it does it all with very little blood and no gore, and it's not needed. The scares come from atmosphere, unease, and the fear of the unknown. The terror is balanced against the comedy, so the levity hits exactly when you need a breath from the spooky stuff. For horror, Widow's Bay gets another 2 out of 2. You wouldn't expect it from a show that is written by a Parks and Rec alum, but there are moments in this show where you are impressed and surprised by the terror and the horror on screen. They use practical effects and makeup to their benefit, and it all looks very good on the screen. And at the end of the day, it's actually scary. The last category is legacy. Will anyone remember this 5 years from now? Does it leave a mark on the genre? Widow's Bay nails a combination most shows can't. Real horror and real laughs side by side. The show runs through a whole range of spooks and scares, never settling into one note. On top of that, it's digestible, binge-worthy TV that goes down easy without sacrificing the scares. For legacy, Widow's Bay gets a 2 out of 2. The entire show feels like an anthology of sorts, where every episode takes on a different kind of scare, a different kind of terror, and at the end of everything, it all ties together very nicely. It was very impressive and surprising to see how well the mix of horror and comedy actually blended here in this show. I could not get enough of it, and I cannot wait for the second season, which was greenlit, by the way. Now let's add it all up. For production, Widow's Bay got a 2. For story, it got a 2. For ensemble, another 2. For horror, a 2. And for legacy, another 2, giving Widow's Bay a total of 10 out of 10. Widow's Bay does one thing horror comedy almost never pulls off. It's genuinely scary and genuinely funny, and it never lets one undercut the other. This is folk horror with a brain and a sense of humor, and there's not a wasted episode in it. The show is available on Apple TV. Go get a free trial somewhere, go get your friend's password, but go watch this show as soon as you can. I'm Arturo Padilla, and remember, it's a scary world out there, but I am here to walk you through it. See you next time.